Welcome again, Maxim here. Today we are gonna talk about types of melee weapons. Those weapons are the biggest group in Warframe, not only by count, but also the most diverse. Everyone will find something for themselves. However, before we move on to their types, let's discuss a bit of the basics. Each melee weapon in Warframe has 9 mod slots, but 9th slot is different than primary and secondary ones. Those were Exilus, this is slot for stance mod. Stance determines how we are moving while attacking and what combinations we will be able to create. Each stance mod has its own predefined combinations that we can repeat during the fight. They give a different effects and possibilities. The list of available combinations of each stance can be checked in our weapon upgrade section or during mission from the combination section under the escape key. Additional effect of stance mod is increasing mod's capacity. If we insert mod with proper polarity, we get a doubled value from the top of the right corner of the mod. If the polarity does not match, the capacity will also increase, but by a value from the corner -1. Polarity of that slot can be changed into other specific one with Forma, or we can make that slot universally polarized by using stance Forma. Any melee weapon, regardless of the stance mod, can be used in combat in various ways. We can attack normally, slide, or we can use wall latch attacks, air attacks, or ground slams. Depending on the weapon class, our slam attack range will be different. Weapon class also determines the angle at which it can be used to parry incoming attacks or bullets, default by holding right mouse button. We can also use heavy attack by using alt attack button, default middle mouse button. This is a powerful attack with a damage value multiplied by the current combo value. Combo is a value that can be increased by hitting enemies with melee weapon. Each hit increases it. The higher value we have, the higher combo multiplier it will generate. Almost always, the maximum combo value is 220, which gives us a 12x multiplier. After performing a heavy attack, the combo returns to its original value. We can also do heavy attack from the air. That will be an area attack. The range of it depends on the weapon class used. This attack also knocks enemies airborne. The higher combo value, the longer they are suspended. Before we move on, I must mention an important but often omitted statistic, called follow-through. The value of this statistic determines how much damage is dealt to the opponents if one hit injures more than one enemy. The formula is as follows: BV, which is base value, to the n-1 power, where n is the number of hit enemies. Let us assume the value from Scana. Here it's equal to 0.6. If we hit one opponent, the calculation is as follows: 0.6 to the power of 1 minus 1, so to the power of 0, which means our modifier is 1. First hit enemy will receive 100% of the calculated damage. However, if we hit two of them, we will have 0.6 to the 2 minus 1 power, which is 1. As a result, first enemy will take 100% of the calculated damage and the second one 60%. Hitting 3 enemies will give us 0.6 squared. This gives us 0.36. If we change 0.6 into percentage, then it can be explained more easily. If we hit several enemies with one hit, the first receives 100% of calculated damage, and each subsequent one receives 60% of damage value applied to the previous one. Final thing to discuss are finishers. They can be performed on unalarmed enemies, or after using some Warframe abilities. They have a special animation and deal increased damage. Okay, let's move to the weapon classification. We will do it with help of stance mods. They very clearly divide melee weapons into specific groups. Let's start with swords. They are presented by sword that you already know pretty well. It's Scana. It's a sword designated for tenor recruits. Swords are mostly slash weapons. Going further, we have dual swords. Here shortened doubled Scana version. If you prefer something faster, then a great option are daggers and double daggers. For example, the Dark Dagger and Fang. For fans of tearing opponents apart, there's also a treat. It's Venka, Deadly Claws. If we dream of a boxing career, we can start training on our opponents with one of several sets of gloves. For example of Fists class, Ankairos. This class is mostly based on impact damage. We can also use weapon class that engages all 4 limbs in combat. It's called sparring, and for example we see here a set of hand and foot coverings, called Kagake. Most of this class are also based on impact damage. Let's go back to the slash-based weapons. Machetes are another example of that class. For the presentation, I will use one with a super original name, Machete, styled on the weapons of Grineer Elite melee units. Next class is Nikana, and here in use is the namesake of this class. It is a weapon that is Tenno's cultural heritage, styled on ancient traditional katanas, made to cut through enemies with great precision and speed. They also exist in a two-handed version, Pennant presented here, which deals mostly puncture damage. Next we have the Straza, which is one of the 3 rapiers currently available. All of them are mainly based on puncture damage. Another class is Scythe. Here we have Anku, based on Tenno technology. This class has one unique property. Heavy attacks apply on enemies /procs. There is also a Heavy Scythe class, if one blade is not enough for you. However, with polearms, hits will be performed much faster and in greater amount. As an example, Orphos. Some weapons in this class have blades on both sides, in that we can hit many enemies at the same time within a quite impressive range. The class with similar appearance is called Staff. An example here is Bow. However, unlike the previous class, this one is mostly based on impact damage. Talking about two-handed weapons, let me present you Galatine, a representative of the Heavy Blade class. It deals high damage at long range. The disadvantage is the attack speed, but the effectiveness of these swords cannot be denied. Another two-handed weapon class is Hammer, such as Fragor. This class deals mostly impact damage. In this case, the attack speed is also not very impressive, but the possibility of dealing very high damage compensates that issue. There is yet another class that requires both hands, but we do not hold one object here. I mean the Sword and Shield class, for example Akenbrand. Next one is Kronen, which are the example of Tonfa class, dangerous and deadly blades or clubs, which reduce amount of enemies effectively. Whips. If you are into electric damage, you might like this class. Lecta, presented here, its syndicated version Secura, or Galvacord lash opponents with pure electric damage. However, if you prefer slash weapons, you can choose Skoliak or Aterax. Sword and Whip class is pretty similar. If Whip itself does not kill enemies, Short Sword included in the set will do. Next class is even more imaginative. It's called Gunblade, and it's also quite universal. When used against enemies, it can cut or shoot them alternatively. Heavy attack is a powerful shot that can verify the will to live of many enemy units. Redeemer, for example, consists of linked twin blades and certainly located shotgun. Glaive was the traditional weapon of the first Tenno. Originally, these were discs with several blades that could be used in close combat, as well as tossed at enemies to deal damage from the distance, and then return like a boomerang, as a part of the presentation, the namesake of this class. The weapon can be also detonated mid-air with the alternative attack button to create additional explosion, by default middle mouse button. Another class is Warfan. Those weapons can cool enthusiasm of our opponents for good. Very sharp and very effective. Gansen as an example. Now, Nunchaku is very fast and deals a lot of damage in a short time. Currently, this class has 4 representatives. Half of them deal electric damage and the other half are mostly impact. And the last class is an Assault Saw. If you used to play at Tony Hawk games and you've enjoyed it, but also you like to cut people in half, I think you could have fun using this monstrosity. I have not mentioned the topic of modular melee weapons called ZOS because they deserve a separate video. You already seen primary, secondary and melee weapons that Tenno can wield. Over the years, I have come across questions like, what kind of melee weapon will be good for my Warframe? Or, I choose this character, what weapons should I use? In Warframe, there are no restrictions or recommendations on what we should and shouldn't use when playing with specific characters. Situations when weapons or characters we use influence each other, creating some synergies, are rare. There aren't many of those combinations, and they are not particularly spectacular and don't give great benefits. Warframe is all about having fun and completing missions in a way that satisfies us. Nobody forbids us to play with a hidden invisible character who would kill enemies with a hammer larger than himself, or to use small daggers to fight when playing with a mighty rhino. Play what you like, but do not forget to check other weapons. You never know if there's something else you'd like even more. Finally, I want to add that even weapons that we did not like are worth using until we reach the level of 30, before we get rid of them. But I will tell more about that in the material about leveling. That's all in this video. If you have any questions, leave the comment below. See you next time. Bye.